Alright, so today I want to put up the cabinets. What I plan on doing is taking the cabinets, putting them up there, and to hold them in place, I could just screw them straight into these studs up there. But what I think would be better is if I just open this a little bit. I cut out these 3.5 inch by 20 inch pieces of wood. This is like 1/2 inch plywood. And I plan on putting this up against the wall like that and kind of gluing that down and screwing through that. And this will serve as basically a big giant washer to help hold the cabinet up, so that when the screws go in, the kind of weight and force is distributed all along that, and it's not just in pinhole points wherever the screw is going through the cabinet. I don't think this is super necessary, but I think it'll help and be better. So it's not a whole lot of extra weight, so I'm going to try doing this now. Might be hard doing it alone, but we'll see. So real quick before I get started on the cabinets, I'm not going to be able to access this space up here anymore once the cabinets are up here. This wire that I have going through a little hole right here in the chassis of the van, I took this foam stuff that I got with, I don't know, it was the pump or the accumulator or something, but this stuff's pretty tough. Like, it's not easy to like tear with your hand. So I took my blade thing and I cut this up and stuffed it in here to help protect the wires, because the hole that these wires are going through, it's kind of sharp. And I remember reading online that if you don't do something like this with the wires, over time, the vibrations from the van will just kind of cut through the wires through here. And that will short the electrical circuit. So I cut this stuff up, shoved it in here. It feels pretty strong, durable. It doesn't feel like it's going anywhere. So I think that'll really help with this. Like, I don't know if you can see this, but you can see little cuts in the wire already right here. So this should help with that a lot. Okay, let's give this a try. So if I put this up like there, and then, let's see, I think that's about what I want. Let's say like right there. Okay, so let me show you this. So I have one screw in just enough to hold it in place. See how angled it is? See how like it's so sloped down like that? Down here it doesn't look so bad, but I think I need to lower that another inch or two just to try to, you know, flatten it out like that. Maybe I should also screw in the screws that will go in the top of the cabinets first, so up and back rather than the ones that are going to go down. Because maybe once I have the screws that are in the top first, maybe I could put in a small piece of wood like right here to kind of like buffer it a little bit and push the cabinet out to make it straighter, just a hair. I think that's what I'm going to try. I'm going to lower this like an inch, inch and a half, and then put in a screw in the top instead of the bottom. I'm going to try that. So up, lower it, there. Like right there. Okay. So I don't have the screw all the way in, but I want to just look at this from like the side. See how that looks. That I think looks a lot better. I think the angle of it looks better. The height is okay. Maybe the height could go up a tiny bit, but I don't know. I think it looks good the way it is. So I think maybe it could go up a hair, but I think right there is fine. So here it is head on. It's a little cramped, but I think it's fine. Maybe I do want to move it up just a little bit. I think it is just a little low, but I do like the level. I think it's pretty even. So I think I'm going to move that up just a hair, and we'll see where I'm at when I have it there. So see you soon. I managed to let my SD card get full, so while I slowly transferred off all the files that were on it, I decided to just go ahead and finish up the cabinets, and we could just jump straight ahead to having them both in. These, I think, look pretty good. They are both about 17 3/4 to like 18 inches-ish above the countertop. So they're similar-ish height. So I'm pretty happy with how these turned out. They look pretty good from the outside. They look pretty good from over here, I think. They're a little off in terms of like angle. I feel like the one right here is slightly straighter up, whereas the one right here is slightly angled forward. But there's not a whole lot I can do about that, I think. The van just kind of curves, and I think it looks fine. The other thing I decided to do while I was waiting for the files to transfer is I took the 0 gauge wire that I had down here and cut it so that I could create these two. These are like 7.5 inch, 8 inches, each of these two. So these two batteries are now wired in parallel. They are not wired in series. There's a very big difference between the two. In parallel means the negative terminal of each battery is connected to each other, and the positive terminal of each battery is connected to each other. The positive terminal of one is not connected to the negative of the other, and vice versa. The other way that I just described would be in series. I want these batteries in parallel, not series, because if I put them in series, they would go from being a 12 volt power supply to being 24 volts. When you put batteries in series, their voltages add together, and I don't want that. I have these in parallel because with them in parallel, their voltages won't add together, so the whole battery bank will stay at 12 volts, but I'll be able to use the capacity of both batteries. So the amp hours adds together instead of the voltages adding together. So I have this wired up now, so whenever I'm ready to use the batteries, I can use both instead of having to just hook up one. So I have this ready. I'm probably going to cut more of the 0 volt wire soon in order to maybe connect to the inverter again, but that's a battle for another day. The sun's going down. I'm pretty tired. It was unbelievably hot today, so I'm pretty happy with where I'm at. I will catch you later. All right, it is a new day. So now that I have these cabinets up, the next thing I really want to start working on is my system for providing 12 volts throughout the van. So things like the pumps and lights that I plan on putting up will need 12 volts instead of 110 or 5 volts or whatever. So to provide that, I plan on taking these kind of ground bars and connecting these straight to the batteries, because the batteries are 12 volts. And then anything that needs to connect to 12 volts, I can just kind of plug into these rails, and I think that'll be good. So I'm going to screw these in right now, right underneath my charge controller over here. So I plan on going like right about there. And I think that will be everything I need. Is coming up through here, like all right. So neither of these wobble at all. They're in there pretty good. So I think that's good. So now I'm going to take these, plug them into the battery, and then probably take my multimeter and see if I'm getting a voltage. So do that real quick. I need to be careful here, not to accidentally short circuit and shock myself. So this is hot. I got it finally. So with these bus bars now connected to the batteries, I should be able to take my multimeter, touch the prongs to the buses, and I should be able to see a 12 volt charge. Or it'll probably be closer to 13, but around there. So I'm going to set this to voltage, and then press select to get on direct current, red to red, and negative to negative. Bam, 12.77. So now, anything that I need to connect to 12 volts, I can connect here, screw it in, and we're good to go. And that makes it nice and easy. I don't have to take everything and wire it down to the battery somehow, because that would become a mess. So with this in now, I just kind of need to think about what should I do next. I'm gonna have to think about it, but I'll get back.